Okay, now that we have our group made in Anthology, we are now going to learn how to run a group LDA on our navigators. So you're going to log into Anthology, and then you are going to go ahead and click Reports, and then scroll down until you see LDA Summary Groups. And what we're going to do is we are going to create the criteria first, so then you don't have to go ahead and do this every single time when you're running your group LDA. So I have one made already, and I just call it Navigators LDA. And we can see that there's been a few things that have been adjusted. So I will go ahead and tell you what those things are. So the first thing we're going to do is address the student group. So we will click on the little magnifying glass, and then I'm going to search for the group that I've made. Click check and select. Now, if we want to know what classes they're taking and then what modality of classes they're taking, meaning like online or hybrid or on ground, we will want to then include the current class info. So we're going to switch that from false to true. And then the most fun part is going to be selecting all the different school statuses. This is going to take a little bit of time, so this is why we want to save the criteria so we don't have to do this again. So, per Dean Brewer, these are going to be all the active statuses for the LDA. So it's going to be the active, the NDS active, scheduled gap, all the stuff needs to go in, and it does need to go in individually, similar to finding the students and adding them to our group. So my suggestion, once you do receive this document, we're just going to copy and paste each one. So I have active here, and then I know NDS active is here as well, so I'm going to scroll down and then select that. And then if we click select, it's going to close out of the box, and then we have to reopen it and then start the process over. So what we'll do instead is we'll go up to the little X here. Those two items will still be selected. We just need to go ahead and go back and now do our scheduled gap. Do that. Scheduled gap 45 plus. My suggestion when you're copying specifically, try not to leave space at the very end. Otherwise, it's not going to populate, if that makes sense. So, like, there's a little extra space right there. It's very, very picky. So, just try to get it so that there's no space at the end there, and then we can copy and paste, and then it will show up for you. So, unfortunately, you do have to do this one at a time, but just the one time. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause and finish up the rest. So once you have all of your school statuses in here, everything else should be good to go. So the student ID will be included, and we're going to include the current class information and then polling our specific group. So before we go ahead and run the report, we're going to save the criteria. And I'm just going to call this Navigators LDA, which I believe I already have saved anyway. And then it should pull up here. So once you go back to LDA summary groups, if I close out of here, everything resets. But then once I click on the down arrow here, I will click on my save criteria, and then everything pops up, so then you don't have to go back and do it again. So my suggestion when you run this is to export it as an Excel file. And it will initially download as a CSV file. Bring this over here. So first thing I'll do, if you need to share this with anybody, I'm just going to save this as an Excel file or an Excel workbook. Just save this to my desktop. And then we can see all of my active students here. So things I delete, I just go ahead, delete the social, not exactly necessary. Start date, I also go ahead and delete. The LDA is pretty important, so we will leave that out there. Delete this, leave their ID, their status. So if you have anybody in your group that is a reentry or a drop or anything like that, you'll probably want to remove them from your group, at least the drops. But the reentries, obviously, they'll be coming back at some point, so maybe leave them there. They will not be pulled on this report because we're only pulling active status students. GPA is here. Let's see, have the ID again, so I'm going to delete that. Their term code, their expected grad date, that's potentially useful. And then going to delete this. And then we have our days out here. And I see 12, that's a little bit alarming, but I also see that the student's on a scheduled gap right now. So not much of a concern after all. But the great thing, I'm just going to delete some more things. We can see their current course and then their how they're taking that course. So G2, G1, G2, G3, G4, those are going to tell us that they're taking that course online. Anything that says GS is going to be hybrid. And then anything that says D, D1, D2, that's going to be fully on ground courses. And that is how you pull an LDA report on your navigators group. I hope you find this helpful.